Hey guys, my name is Batumio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a YouTube message. So the first question for today comes from Lord Triclops, and it is, seeing as one of the upcoming DLCs is Navy-based, do you think that Titan mode from Battlefield 2142 could/should return with aircraft carriers replacing the airships? Yeah, I would be 100% on board if DICE did decide to have a Titan mode with the Naval Strike DLC. I'm not exactly sure how they would balance everything out, because the way that it worked in Battlefield 2142 is that the airship basically that you're trying to attack, if you guys haven't played that game, was up in the sky, and so you had to have certain vehicles that would kind of launch you up there. I think you even needed to take down a shield. It's been a while, so I could be wrong, but it was kind of this offensive defensive type of deal where you had people trying to assault the enemy's airship, but at the same time you also need people defending your base so that the enemy wasn't able to take it out and get the victory for their team. And so I'm not exactly sure how they would be able to work it out in Battlefield 4, but it's definitely a possibility, and a lot of people are kind of thinking that because in the campaign, the ship that basically is seen throughout the campaign is called Titan, this could be kind of DICE's hint that that's what we're going to be getting with the Naval Strike expansion pack. And so for me personally, I'm crossing my fingers, because if they're able to do it correctly, I think it could be a lot of fun. I mean, it's definitely going to have to be a different dynamic than it was back in Battlefield 2142, because we're not going to have the airships up in the sky. But if they have plenty of vehicles in there, if they're able to make it easy enough to get to the enemy ship, but also make it exciting and fun to have combat out in the water, but also in the ships themselves, I think it could be an awesome game mode, and I'm kind of hoping that's what we get. The next question comes from Adam, and it is, I've noticed that the DMRs are kind of messed up now, and people don't seem to have any incentive to use them. I love the M39 in Battlefield 3, and I would love to hear your opinion. I 100% agree with you. The DMRs are a little messed up. They don't do enough damage right now, and basically what we're kind of left with is a weapon category, every single gun, that doesn't do well up close. If you get into a firefight with really any other assault rifle in the game, you're not going to win that firefight, but they also don't perform very well at long range either. Like, you would assume that the DMRs would be great for those medium and long range engagements, but because they just simply don't do enough damage, you have to put around 4 bullets into the enemy at a distance, and it's easier to just do that with an assault rifle at that point. And so as of right now, the DMRs, they frankly suck. Like, they just aren't any good. And so what I would like them to do is to give them some loving, caress those DMRs a little bit, give them a little boost in the damage, and just kind of put them more in line with all of the other weapons in the game, or really just make them so that they're effective at what they're supposed to be good at, which is medium to long range combat. And in all honesty, I didn't think that the DMRs back in Battlefield 3 were really all that overpowered. I know that a lot of people did complain about the SKS and the M417, but when you compared those weapons to something like the M16A3 or the M416, or really any other weapon in Battlefield 3, I felt like they were on par with those guns. I mean, the Recon class in general was not a very popular class to begin with. It was one of the weaker classes, at least in my opinion, and to have the SKS and the M417 just kind of put it more in line with all of those other kits. And so, personally, I would kind of like to see maybe more of a return to that level of power. Maybe not as much, maybe make it so they're not as effective up close with those one-shot kills, but at least make it so that they do a little bit better at range. The next question comes from Maximal Noob, and it is, one thing that I know that they did really well in Medal of Honor 2010 was taking the rush game mode and turning it into combat mission. Instead of just blowing up a few objectives, the attacking team actually had to blow up a barricade so tanks could move up and then destroy a hangar door so that they could move into a position and be able to destroy the enemy air command tower. This gives the maps more meaning and made them more memorable. Why hasn't DICE adopted this for Battlefield? That is a very, very good question, because in my opinion, this was a pretty huge missed opportunity. on the part of DICE. Like, how cool would it have been in that instead of arming some stupid boxes on the map, like, I realize that it's part of the game mode, it keeps it flowing, and it keeps you moving from objective to objective, but those MCOMs mean nothing to me. Like, are there some stupid files on there that we're trying to destroy? Like, no, they're just some stupid part of the game mode. And so how cool would it have been is that instead of arming MCOMs, you're placing C4 on objectives that actually matter. Maybe like an anti-air missile, maybe you're bringing down a dam that will allow you and your team to push up onto the next objectives, just some sort of mission that actually makes sense instead of just some stupid MCOM. You know, also you could have just integrated more of Levolution on into the game. You know, DICE was touting that Levolution was gonna be a huge part of Battlefield 4, and while it is, I think it was just a huge missed opportunity to not have the rush objectives also being kind of tied in to some of these moments. And what's kind of disappointing about all this is that we got a small taste of it back in Battlefield 3. I don't know if many of you realize this, but the first couple of MCOMs for Operation Metro, or the first base, once you took them, they blew up the anti-air missiles, allowing a jet to kind of fly over for the attacking team, blowing up the subway station, allowing you to actually go into the next section of the map. And if you weren't able to take out those anti-air missiles, that never would have happened. And while I know it's scripted and it happens every single time, for me, it just kind of adds to the immersion, it kind of makes things a little bit more enjoyable, and so I'm kind of hoping that for future DLCs, they try to add more of this Levolution for the MCOMs themselves. I think that would be fantastic. The final question for today comes from Alex, and it is, what's your opinion on the M320 smoke? I think it went really bad compared to Battlefield 3 because you can look so easy throughout the smoke wall. Yeah, no, the M320 smoke is abysmal. I don't know if DICE is going to be changing things with it, but as things stand right now, there is literally no reason to use it. Like, the first time I tried it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be super tactical, I'm gonna lay down this awesome smoke screen, my team is gonna push up onto these objectives, it's gonna be awesome. And then I fired off 2 of them, and it was like just a tiny puff of smoke. It was like absolutely nothing happened. And while I guess in some very select scenarios, maybe if you're in a room or something like that, it can block the view of the enemy on the other side of the room. But if you're trying to make your way from, you know, one side of the road to the other, the smoke doesn't do anything. And while I appreciate the fact that DICE has made some changes where you can't spot through smoke, which is very important, like that was a huge problem back in Battlefield 3, the smoke screen itself, at least for the M320, it's just simply not large enough. Like, it literally is just a puff of smoke and it doesn't give you any cover. I did hear that the normal grenade smoke is a larger radius and it does cover a little bit more, and so maybe it's just kind of a bug, maybe they need to tweak some things here and there, and I hope that is the case, because as things stand right now, I can never see myself using the M320 smoke. But that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a YouTube message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.